Underground Bunker. This is your proprietor, Tony Ortega, and we've got some breaking news today. Thanks to Florida Politics website and a really interesting article by Janelle Taylor. And I just had to get Mark Bunker's thoughts on this. Mark, this is wow. We know very well what the city of Clearwater has been going through with Church of Scientology for years and years, and how the Church of Scientology has purposely purchased parcels in order to keep any kind of downtown development going. They've stood in the way of allowing people in Clearwater to create a more vibrant town. And now they want something. They want this street in order to complete their sort of turning Clearwater into their own Vatican. The city council is having second thoughts about that and kind of put, stymie David Miscavige's plans temporarily. Well, in the meantime, the Attorney General of the state of Florida, this James Uthmeyer, who's been at AG in Florida for about 5 minutes, sent a letter to Bruce Rector, the mayor of Clearwater, saying, "Hey, you can't treat a church this way. This is discrimination. This is religious discrimination." Oh my God. Mark, this is what makes it so difficult always to deal with the big bully that Church of Scientology is. They go whining and pretending that they're this discriminated against church, and people like this Uthmeyer buy it. It's so frustrating, isn't it?
It is. What I'd like is for the Attorney General to charge Scientology with racketeering. It's what we've been saying for years, that they've purposely created the situation that only David Miscavige can solve. You give us what we want, and we'll give you a downtown. It's the mob. It's the mafia. And yet, no, it's a religion. You must treat them fairly. In fact, you must sell them a street that you wouldn't sell to anyone else, really. But they want it, so you have to sell it to them, or you're going to be sued. And we'll join Scientology in that suit. It's
Well,
astonishing.
this James Uthmeyer, like I said, has been Attorney General for about 5 minutes, but before him, Attorney General Pam Bondi was very friendly with Scientology. So it's not too surprising that the upper levels of Republican power in Florida are still, providing cover for Scientology. And let me just say, this is the point that Lawrence Wright made so well in Going Clear. He said, "Look, yeah, they don't have to pay taxes. That's the what you get with tax exemption. But more importantly than that, they're protected." Right? I have no doubt that what happened after the city council had some second thoughts and said, "Hang on a second, we're not sure. We're not sure what your plans are. This is not necessarily good for our city." And they backed off on this, and David Miscavige pulled out before he got a no vote. I have no doubt that Scientology then sent its bigot, Monique Yingling, maybe some other attorneys, to the attorney general, to the governor, and said, "Oh, we're being discriminated against," right? And that's all they need to hear. A church facing discrimination. Oh, we know whose side we're on, right? And that's what Lawrence Wright is talking about. It's the protection that you get as a tax-exempt religious organization that Scientology banks on and creates this complete upside-down situation where, as you say, Mark, instead of the way the AG is characterizing it as a church being discriminated against, it's a mafia running, roughshod on this town and getting away with it. It's just absolutely insane, isn't it?
It is. And I'm sure the Attorney General does not know and does not care that Scientology destroyed the aquarium moving downtown to redevelop our downtown, because they didn't want that. So Scientology can interfere in the city's business any way they want. But if we say, you don't need the road, you can still have your hall and your beautiful L. Ron Hubbard Park, but let's keep the road open. That, for God's sakes, is unforgivable. We must reach out to the state attorney general, who, of course, is going to side with us because we're all powerful Scientology. It's insane.
It's just so frustrating because what I'm looking through the specifics on this, time and again, this attorney general is saying things in ways to make you realize he doesn't know the first thing about the history of what's been going on in Clearwater. And he's making it sound like the city's extorting Scientology by asking them, "Hey, before we give you this street, are you going to do anything with all those properties you've got downtown that are sitting vacant?" He's acting like that's like that Scientology's holding a gun to their head. When
Not
no,
only
it's the other way around.
not only that, but in 2017, David Miscavige offered that. He said, "Listen, I will redevelop all the properties downtown if you just give me what I want." So it's his deal. He's the one
Yeah,
who came
yeah.
to us. We're just saying, all right, we finally we'll make that deal with you. We just want you to come through. And okay, you don't need the street for it, but we can still work together. It's not like it's Clearwater's idea that, hey, I know what we'll do. We'll promise to sell them the street, but then we'll force them to put businesses in all these empty buildings they've been promising to do since 2017. It's nuts.
It's this is the thing that just drives us all crazy is that we know that Scientology is a totalitarian mafia-like organization pretending to be a religious organization. And, when guys like this Uthmeyer completely fall for it. It's just so frustrating. Like I call them a church because they call themselves a church. But then why is a church acting this way? Why is a church strangling it downtown? Why is a church ripping families apart? Does Uthmeyer realize that L. Ron Hubbard can be heard on tape saying there was no Christ? I bet you he doesn't know about that. But I don't know. When you were on the council, Mark, were you ever did you ever hear any of these concerns that there was only so much you could ask Scientology to do because you'd be treading on their religious rights by asking them to maybe cooperate with the city and do something with the properties they own? Did anybody ever bring that up with you?
Well, what was brought up with me early on from the first city attorney that I worked with, Pam Aiken, who I liked, but she said, Mark, you are protected when you're on the dais. You can say anything you want about Scientology, but if there's ever a time when there's a lawsuit that's launched, all of that can be used against the city. So maybe you don't want to be, coming out so forcefully. And I said, I'm okay with it. Uh, but no, there was no, it's hard to answer the question. Um,
Well, the important thing to me is whenever you were speaking about Scientology, when I saw you on the city council, you were talking about the Church of Scientology's acts, the things they have done, their behavior. I never once saw you at the city council say anything about their beliefs or what their scripture or any of that garbage. That's the difference is, you just can't get around the fact that in 1975, Church of Scientology surreptitiously began its takeover of the city of Clearwater, and they have been acting aggressively ever since. It's got nothing to do with their regard for L. Ron Hubbard. It's got nothing to do with their ideas about OT or Xenu. It's got nothing to do with auditing or the TRs. It's what they are doing to that town, which was, and after 2017, when Dave did not get that little parcel he wanted, he sent these wealthy Scientologists out to double the church's footprint by grabbing all these parcels and putting an even bigger stranglehold on downtown. That's got nothing to do with religion. It's about an organization that is determined to keep that city dead. And I don't understand why the city council members can't just speak to that, can't act on it. But this AG is saying, well, if you're criticizing that group, oh, that's plain discrimination. That's what he's saying here, isn't it?
sure, absolutely. And I wish the attorney general would understand that the businesses that are in the buildings that Scientology and Scientologists control right now, they're under the thumb, month to month leases, asking for an extra cut of the take when there's a dinner sold during a concert. All the pressure that's put on these businesses, should that be looked into?
Right.
No, there's no interest in doing anything there. There's no interest in helping Clearwater or helping Clearwater businesses. It's only, hey, don't you touch Scientology? They're
That's
real.
right. We got a question from a reader that let me make sure people understand. I understand there's some folks that are not local, not even in the U.S. Kind of a little confused with the situation. Scientology owns the property that they want to put an auditorium on and a park, which is next to their flag building, which already exists. There's a little street that goes through the middle of that. They want the city to vacate the street and then sell it to Scientology so they can just make it part of the park and nobody can drive through there that they don't want to. And they're going to say it's a safety issue. Okay, fine, whatever. Well, at the last minute, another group came in with a counter proposal to say, listen, this area used to be an area of African American businesses, and we'd like to see that street turned instead into a park honoring Clearwater's African American past. The city council was intrigued. They decided to wait a little bit and to think that over. And then at the last minute before a vote was held, David Albritton switched sides, saying he still hadn't seen complete plans from David Miscavige and the Church of Scientology, and he couldn't vote for giving them the street. Before the vote was then held, David Miscavige had the proposal from Scientology withdrawn. That's the situation now. The Attorney General has now written to the mayor of Clearwater. Why now? I have no doubt because Scientology then immediately sent their attorneys to Tallahassee to complain and whine and cry to the governor and the attorney general. That the attorney general noted that Scientology is planning to refile their proposal. That we said that from the beginning, that based on the letter that Dave's lawyer sent the city, it was pretty clear they're going to come back with a new version of that proposal based more on safety than anything else. So the attorney general of the state of Florida is saying, okay, it looks like Scientology is going to ask for this street. If that's the case, we're going to remind you, Mayor Rector and the city council, you can't put requirements. You can't say, hey, we'll sell you the street if you develop these other properties. If that's unconstitutional. And that specifically he's warning them that it looks like you guys don't like Scientology. You can't express that kind of discrimination, religious discrimination. Again, if Scientology didn't have that tax exempt status that they never deserved, they would never be treated this way. It's what the city council is asking for is not unreasonable at all. But because from several hundred miles away up in Tallahassee, all they know is Church of Scientology isn't getting what they want because the city council doesn't like them. That's un-American, right? This is what I've been saying, Mark, for so many years. This is what's one of the things that's interested me so much in this is how Scientology takes our most cherished values in America, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and makes them into weapons to use against us. It's just disgusting, and it drives me crazy.
Well, you're right. I also noted in the Attorney General's statement that he was concerned about safety issues on that street. So clearly, Scientology kind of stressed, this is our plan. It's so unsafe to have that street open, for God's sakes, the street that nobody's on, and yet there's crashes on it constantly. An attorney general goes, yeah, you got a good point there. Let's make sure that the city knows it's so unsafe.
Well, and Phil Jones points out there has been a Scientology couple that's been buddying up to Governor DeSantis. So I want to find out more about that. I did, look up a little bit about Upmeyer. I don't really know him, and that's because he's been Attorney General just a few months, and before that he was on staff with DeSantis, and he's just part of that crowd. And he's probably been influenced by Pam Bondi, like all of them, that she's just, she was a very close friend with Scientology. But the point is that, what the things he is expressing is what somebody says who doesn't know the first thing about the actual situation and who takes on face value that the Church of Scientology is a church. And as John Atack has pointed out forever, that the word church itself implies Christianity. And Scientology very purposely used that word, even though Scientology has nothing to do with Scientology. In fact, the founders on tape saying there was no Christ. I don't know about these Tallahassee folks if they know that, but hey, they have tax exempt status. That's fine, okay, but that doesn't mean that there aren't some local conditions that this city council should be able to address. For example, that they call themselves a church, but they're bullies. And they've been pushing around the city of Clearwater for decades. Oh, it's just insane, Mark.
Yeah, stabbing us in the back left and right. Every time we say, okay, well, let's see if we can partner with you, they immediately stab us in the back, like with the aquarium. And you wish that somebody somewhere on a higher level would take some action, but you can't reach them. I mean, I tried reaching out to so many officials when I was in office, from our state attorney general, who refused to talk to me, to the FBI, who at least sat down with me and said, "Listen, you got to bring us some evidence before we do anything." Um, there's no one who will take action. It's just like I interviewed Ray Emmons, the retired police lieutenant who was in charge of investigating Scientology for 20 years after they snuck into town. And in my interview with him back in 2000, he said, we reached out to the state officials, federal officials, and said, we need some help. And what they said was, are they going to come after me? Will they attack me? It's a religion, and no help is coming from anybody. It's up to us. It's up to us on the internet to do what we can to continue to make this corporation dwindle. This enterprise of theirs is shrinking all the time. Unfortunately, it's shrinking to Clearwater, which is bad for little Clearwater. Um, there is at least some solace in the fact that we're all having an impact. You, me, everybody out there who's speaking out, we are making a difference. And the people of Clearwater understand it's just getting somebody in any position to take action that's so impossible.
Yeah, it's just I don't know what it's going to take. I think Florida on the state level is just a lost cause.
Oh yeah.
I really think that if anything is going to really change, it's going to have to come from the federal level. And right now, that's not looking good. President Trump is thoroughly safe pointed with Trish Duggan, one of his major donors, Grant Cardone, John P. Cole, and of course Pam Bondi and RFK. They're all involved with Scientology in one way or another. No, Pam Bondi's not a Scientologist. No, Bobby Kennedy Jr. is not a Scientologist. But RFK Jr. works closely with Scientologist attorneys on this anti-vaccine work that he does. Pam Bondi was very friendly with Scientology when she was Attorney General. There's just nobody at the state or federal level right now that I see wanting to take on the Church of Scientology. And so this is what they do. If the locals actually show some initiative, they just run to that higher power.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Imagine how frustrated this would have been if you were still on the council.
Well, if I was still on the council, I at least could be speaking about this from the dais and
Right.
raising and trying to talk to that state attorney general, trying at least to open a door to a discussion with him to explain what we've been up against since 1975, how this is not like any other religion that as the St. Pete Times once put it. It's It's just insanity. And even
I
when
know. And
this, even if we have a sane administration take over, there's so much nonsense going on at the federal level that who's going to open up hearings on Scientology? It's the type of thing that I thought we really can get this done at some point, but now it's just chaos everywhere you look. It had been even, between the two Trump administrations, who's able to take action. And
well,
I,
and I
I hate to,
understand. I understand why these laws and policies are in place, right? That legitimate churches are generally forces for good. They do charity work. This is why they don't have to pay taxes. Is that the idea is that they're supposed to, on balance, be more beneficial to the public than their tax money would be. And then on top of that, most churches are just trying to stay afloat. I mean, some of them are wealthy. There's no question, but the idea is you shouldn't discriminate against them in matters like this because they're not, out there to make money. Well, how about today's post of the underground bunker where we're showing that David Miscavige had two additional patrons balls besides the one he has in October. He had one in January to hand out trophies to big donors in Los Angeles. And then he had one in Clearwater last month at the Dianetics 75th anniversary event, another patrons ball, more trophies for big donors. And tomorrow I'll be posting the really big donors and how much they donated. And it's incredible. I think Pan went through today's posting with just the smaller donors, but there's so many of them. Today's amount of money represented $55 million. These people, David Miscavige has money for days, and that's why he's having all these properties bought up and he's bullying around this town. So this attorney general just has everything upside down. I'm sure he hasn't spent 5 minutes researching Scientology, but I'd like to get to the bottom of which of Scientology's attorneys has been lobbying Tallahassee the last few weeks. I'm going to see if I can figure that out.
well, frankly, I read your article today, and it's just religious discrimination. You should be.
Oh. Phil says he had a list of 10 Scientology donors meeting with DeSantis on May 20th. So that could very well have something to do with it. I'm going to get that list from Phil. Thank you very much, Phil. We'll have something on that maybe after tomorrow's list of the big whales. The money, Mark. It's just incredible. I mean, there are several changes we've seen over the years. So much, Mark, is just sort of etched in stone, and Scientology does the same thing all the time. But one of the big changes I've witnessed is that Miscavige has gotten so much better at getting these $1 million plus donations out of people. It's just astounding, and so many of the smaller donations too. People giving 100,000, $250,000, so many of them, and I couldn't. That's a lot of money. It's incredible that people hand that over to you.
Yeah, yeah, it's insane. Now, there are religions with a lot of money, and I'm sure they throw their weight around. But this is a particular issue here where this fraudulent religion, this thing that L. Ron Hubbard set up for that tax exemption. I know if we can get it, I can make it stick, he said. And it certainly has stuck, and it's stuck all of us. Um, it's such a difficult problem when no one will talk to you about it. No one wants to address it. There's nothing in it for them in the higher level of government to do anything about it. Look at the one guy who tried to take action on a cult before, Leo J. Ryan. Look what happened to him. He was
Right.
trying to help families. He was trying to save lives, and it cost him his. So I'm not saying that people are afraid to go up against Scientology for fear of death, but they don't want to risk anything, their livelihoods, their positions. It's a scare tactic that Scientology has mastered over the decades.
It
And
is. They've mastered how to scare people and then appear the victim. They're so good at that. They constantly smear me online, Leah Remini, Alex Barnes, Ross. I mean, they're just constantly smearing us online, but then they're always portraying themselves as these victims who are the victims of bigotry and discrimination. When really they have all this money, all these resources, they use it to try to destroy lives, and they have used it to turn downtown Clearwater into a desert. And you think that figures into Uthmeyer's calculus? I don't think so.
no, no. If we just worked with Scientology, it would be a paradise, according to him. Uh, you know, just a few miles down the road, Dunedin has a thriving downtown. Few more miles to the east of us, Safety Harbor. What an amazing downtown they have. And of course, St. Pete. We we could be that. We could be St. Pete if it wasn't for Scientology's presence and their actions. And the no one on a higher level cares. Oh, you're going to work with them, and then everything will be fine. Yeah.
So now David Miscavige will submit a new proposal at some point. They tend to move slow, but David Miscavige will put in a new proposal for the vacation of that street and to buy that street. I'm sure that the new proposal will be real heavy on the language about, our lives will be at stake if somebody's allowed to actually walk or drive down that, little piece of land. And then, no doubt they're going to include some of this discrimination thing and language in there as well. And then this time, this city council, Bruce Rector, it's going to be real interesting to see how they react this time. I hope that they stand up and say, listen, we weren't just expressing religious discrimination. We were expressing frustration at an organization that is not helping us develop this town. And that's all it is. It's got nothing to do with religion, does it, Mark?
Right. If Scientology acted like a partner, if we could shake hands with them and say, okay, please, we appreciate the fact that you're going to put businesses in all of these buildings. We appreciate the fact that you and Tom Cruise are going to open up a movie theater and a nightclub and a bowling alley and all these things for us. That's great of you. We can work together. Now just do it. But
Yeah.
there's no sign that they're going to do it, really. They promised to do it since 2017. And
And now just asking them, the attorney general's on board with the idea, is a form of religious bigotry. Incredible.
for God's sakes, it's insane.
Stunning, just stunning. Once again, Scientology's religious cloaking looks like it's going to win the day for them. It usually does in court and in politics. I don't know what it's going to take, Mark, until the leaders of this country start figuring out that they're being played. It's just amazing.
Well, I know what it's going to take. Let's get me back on the city council.
Let's get Mark Bunker back on the city council first. That's job one, people. Let's
Job
make it
one.
happen. All right, Mark. Thank you so much for jumping on a quick video in the middle of your day. We'll just have to see what happens. I'll be interested to see if you hear anything from the city council members. I'm going to try to find out what's Scientology kind of pressure they put on Uthmeyer, and we'll just see how it develops. But right now, once again, at the state level, Florida is on Scientology's side, and it just doesn't seem to matter what kind of atrocities Scientology commits against its own members.
And the state general, that's a pretty big thumb on the scale. So it makes it so much more difficult now.
All right. All right, everybody. Thank you so much, and we'll see you later.